Hello, everyone. Hey, guess how are you? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's Ask Me session. My name is Ajulo Christian, and I'm a data scientist at Hamoye. Okay, yeah, this is the third Ask Me session in this Hamoye Data Science Summer 2022 cohort. I'm happy to have you here. So we had like two Ask Me sessions previously. So this will be our third, and we're getting to the end of stage A. And I know we'll have questions. Okay. So how has the stage been so far for every one of us? How are we finding it? Are we done with the quiz? How did you see it? How is it going? You can start by asking your questions or suggestions or contributions. Good afternoon, Richard. Yeah, you're welcome. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, before I start with the questions, we shared a link for interns to register in the next stage. So on this next stage, we'll be going to different stages. Data science track, different tracks, data science track, data storytelling, data engineering / MLOps, and DevOps. So I don't know if we attended the previous info session we had on Wednesday about the DevOps. So I don't know if is anybody here that's selected DevOps track or whichever track you selected. So, and the deadline for filling that form, like in the message, it's on 31st of July. So you have to fill it before that time. So, all right. After that being said, I would advise for those that have not submitted their quiz and the assessment form, it's advisable you do it anytime from now. If you do it like we know we like doing stuff in rush hour, it will not end well, like I always say. So you have to submit on time before the deadline, which is on August 2nd. So do it to do it before that time. So anybody have questions for today? Any blockers, any issues you're having whatsoever? Or you want to ask how to select a particular track or not to know about that track? You can just ask. Good day, hear me? Dairo. You're welcome. Okay, Emmanuel is asking a question. If you want to ask this like an interactive session, you can just or if you are shy to unmute yourself and talk, I can read it from the chat too. But I'll advise you just unmute yourself and ask so everybody will hear the question you're asking. So Emmanuel Gazu, you can just ask a question, unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
You're
So
welcome.
I would like to know, earlier we were told that if a person gets below 60 marks in a quiz, the person wouldn't, be able to get a certificate. And I want you to throw more light on that. Thank you.
Okay. Like you said, you got probably somebody has less than 60% in a particular quiz. If you know, in each stages, it's not just quiz. We have different deliverables, your tag along code. Sometimes there might be webinars during that particular stage. So even if you have less than 60%, if you also submit your tag along code, at the end of the day, your grade might be higher. But what I'm saying is that you need to have at least a cumulative grade of 60% or higher at the end of the internship to have a certificate. A cumulative grade which includes attendance to webinars, that's the compulsory webinars, we'll tell you about those ones. So everything together at the end of the internship, that's when you have your certificates. And also if you notice, when you're done with each stage, or that's of a particular course in each stage, if you have 60% and higher, you get a certificate of that particular course. So if you have less than 60, you won't have a certificate for that course in that stage. You understand my point? But towards the end of the internship, with all your deliverables, your quiz, your tag along code, attendance to webinars, your premier projects, capstone projects, if at the end of the day, your grades, the cumulative score is higher than 60, you get it, your certificate. But if it is less than 60%, you won't have your certificate. So I don't know if you understand how I explained it. Do you understand now, Simon?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So any other questions? Any other questions aside getting a score? And I'm hoping everybody here well done because that's with the quiz, you submitted your assessment form and all that. And I noticed some persons they completed the quiz, but they didn't submit the assessment form. That's your tag along code, your link to the code. With if you don't submit your tag along code and you did all the quiz, it's more or less like you wasted your time. So it is not complete because if you notice the tag along code is part of the deliverables, it's very important. So you have to submit everything, follow the instructions. If you just did only the quiz and you did submit your code, there's no way you have maximum grade. So to help yourself, just do all the deliverables, submit the link to your code, and the link should be public that we can view. That's since it's on GitHub, we have to create a public repository so we can view. Yes, there's a deadline for submission. Daniel is asking that question. We'll be saying this on the Slack channel and also on your email. There's a deadline for that. For you to submit. Because end August 2nd. We'll be saying this. Check all the infos on Slack announcement channel and also your mails. We'll be saying this, there's a deadline for that. Ending midnight. Yeah. So if you don't submit it, you won't get your grade or your score. So it's best you do submit. Any other question? Even apart from asking in the chat, you can just unmute yourself. Let's interact to hear what you have to say and others will gain from your question. So it's best that way. Apart from these normal questions, you can see how I'm guessing you have technical questions. You can ask any technical question relating to the stage, the codes you don't understand, some of the terms, Python libraries for machine learning you don't get or you need explanation on that. You can just ask apart from questions on deadline of submission or getting certificates. can encourage you to ask technical questions, so you can ask. Please, you can unmute yourself and ask so we can interact. I can also read your chat, but I'll indulge you to unmute yourself and ask your question. I see Favor has a question. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Favor, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, yeah, in noisy area. Okay. I'll just read the question. Okay, you're asking, you don't know the track to choose. You read the different tracks, but you're still confused. Okay. Like we've already announced, there are 4 tracks because we have a new tracks currently: DevOps, data science track, data storytelling, data engineering, and MLOps. So if the best advice I can give you, I can't tell you on which to choose. So it's left for you to, like I always say, since you said you've read about it, you can still go more and read about these 3 or these 4 different tracks. And you would have a conversation yourself on which talks about visualize a person, how you can provide, produce this data to someone and what you are doing. That's data storytelling, visualization, talking about the data and all that. And there's the data engineers, which source for the data, create a pipeline and all that. And data scientists, which organize this data, clean up data, then gets actionable insights from it by running predictions. It can be supervised or not supervised. So I'm just throwing little light on these 3 different aspects. Then there's DevOps, which is cloud infrastructure, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment and development. So just read up, and if you do more research on it, I assure you won't be confused. So I'm just giving you this different short lights about these different tracks. So it's in the handbook we shared. You can also do your further research so you know which to choose. And I implore you to choose on time because there's a deadline for submission of that form, that's selection of tracks. It's ending July 31st, which is on Sunday, I guess. Yeah. So that's the advice I can give to you, Favor. Just research more and see the one that interests you to do, and select it. And please fill it before the submission date runs out. I don't know if I've answered the question. You can signify by putting it in the chat since you're in a noisy area.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. You're welcome.
Yes, sir. My question is this, my original intention is to gain more knowledge on data science. And that's why I wasn't confused picking data science track straight out. My question is this: after this data science, can one have opportunity to come back and do DevOps or engineering courses, maybe in another intern year? I'm not referring to this particular year. I know we can only do one track now.
Yes. Okay, yes, to your question, yes, you can. If you're done, for example, you selected data science track in this cohort, you can always apply again for the next cohort. You can select another track. Wonderful, that's good. And also, what I noticed, interns that normally do DevOps are probably the data engineers. They are kind of like related in a way. So you can always come back for the next cohort and choose a different track. That's very possible. But in a particular cohort, you can only do one track. You can only select a particular track. Then, if you're done, get your certificates, complete all the stages and all that, all the deliverables, put an eye on our social media platforms to see when there's the next cohort starting. You can apply for another track. It's very possible.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Any other question? Okay. You're welcome,
Good afternoon.
Joy.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I don't know if I should call it a question. I
Okay.
feel, I don't know if you guys can include, should I say, the quiz session wherever someone misses a particular question, if they can include, or should I say, they can just show us where we flopped, or I don't know if you're getting me, like, let's see the question we got wrong and like see the solution to that particular question. Hello?
Okay, okay. So this is your question. Yeah, I heard you. I heard you.
Okay, I think
Okay,
the
for that
next,
your question, it's against our policy to show you. Can you hear me, Joy?
yes, yeah.
Okay. I said it's against our policy showing you the answers on the platform. But if you have further questions, you can always send a mail to us. We'll give you directions on what to do.
All right,
If you
thank
have
you.
further questions, only send a mail, and I'm guessing you know our mail already, so
All right, thanks.
you're very welcome. Okay, Favor still asking that question. How do I submit my code using Jupyter Notebook? Okay, I don't know if you did the version control with Git, because that's a break course. It's quite easy. There are two options though. Since what we require is for you to use a GitHub platform. If you don't have a GitHub page or GitHub account, just go online, type on GitHub, then you register. It's a very easy process. Register for GitHub. And after that, you create a GitHub repository, a public GitHub repository. Then you upload your Jupyter Notebook if you are using this process. Then there's another way of doing it with Git by Git commits. You just check that course. I don't know if you did it. If you did that, you can use that process. But a shorter process you can still use once you've created your GitHub account. In your account, you see an option for you to create a repository, new repository. You create a new repository, click the option of a public repo. Then once you've created your repository, just upload your Jupyter Notebook to it. Then you paste the link in the assessment form, and that's it. Yes, you have to push the notebook on Git and submit your GitHub link. That's the link housing your notebook. That's the repository link housing your notebook, not just an empty repository. Because I've seen some things like that. Some people submitted empty repo, so that's your detriment. You have a GitHub account, you just push it on Git and submit. Push your Jupyter Notebook to Git, then submit the link, copy the link at the top of the page. If you're not upload from your system and it will load. There's another question here. Okay, Yemi Dar is saying you're having issues with activating and running your NumPy. Did you download the Anaconda, Yemi Daru? You shouldn't have issues running your NumPy. If you downloaded Anaconda and you're using Jupyter Notebook, it's already pre-installed. To load it, just you import it first. Import NumPy as np. Then you run, it starts working. I don't know if I've answered your question, Yemi Daru. Okay, you downloaded your Anaconda, and have you successfully loaded your Jupyter Notebook before? Okay, you said you're in a noisy place. You can just drop it in the chat, I'll read it. Since you are using the Anaconda and you've run your, you've tried that, but it doesn't seem to work. Okay, I would advise you check if you downloaded the right Anaconda for your system. There's 64 bits, there's 32 bits. And also there's the one for Windows and also the one for Mac, if you're a Mac or a Windows. So before you download or install anyone, always check on the right package you installed. But apart from that, since you've downloaded it before and you tried it, okay, yours is Mac. Okay, did you download the Anaconda for a MacBook? There's a type for Mac and there's a type for Windows. Okay, you did. So if you've done all this, I would advise just load it from the Anaconda. You see where to launch your Jupyter notebook. Once you launch your notebook, all these libraries are pre-installed. To run the code, just type import numpy as np, import pandas as pd. Then you run to start running immediately. You shouldn't have issues since you've installed the Anaconda and every other thing. So you shouldn't have an issue with that. Okay, there's another question saying, are there live lecture sessions for other stages? Okay, like I've explained before, in this internship, there's no live classes, if that's what you're asking. There's no live classes. It's just the materials on the platform. Then you can always ask your question while having these Ask Me sessions. Then we have webinars. These are compulsory webinars that we do hold in different stages, or if not different stages, like we have close to 4 in a particular cohort. So we'll pass this information to you on Slack and also your email, so you know which is the important one for you to go, because we'll be taking attendance. But in terms of live classes, live lecture classes, no, we don't hold that. Just these Ask Me sessions, then the courses on the platform. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Okay, Abiodun is asking, I had less than 60% in one of the first materials given to us before the stage A course. Is this going to affect? No. The prerequisite course, which is the version control with Git and introduction to Python and Anaconda, those are just individually placed courses for you to understand, to give you a foundation before going to stage A. So whatever grade you have in those courses, it does not affect. The internship starts from stage A to the end. So whatever you have there does not affect your current stage. So those are prerequisite course. It doesn't affect what starts counting from your stage A course. Okay, for the command for, okay, let me drop it in the chat session for the email. I'll drop it as I'm talking. Any other question? If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask, not just in the chat session. This is an interactive session. You can drop your questions by unmuting yourself and ask. Anybody else with a question? Any other technical question? Anybody having issues with Anaconda, or you're having issues loading a particular library? You can just ask. Because while I'm saying this, to some, this stage A looks kind of like interesting and easy. So moving on to stage B, there are different tracks. So I advise you to pay more attention. From now on, is going to be fast-paced because we'll be having premier projects, we'll be sharing into different groups. I've said that before. With time, we send the information, pass it down to you. After then, we'll have the capstone projects. So within this period of time, just pay more attention to it and study hard. So, but now you can ask your questions, technical on the course, what you don't understand, what you're having issues with, suggestions also, we welcome suggestions.
I have a question.
Okay. Nice to have you again.
It actually relates to what not really relates, but it's still something like what I mentioned the last time, right? Okay. I was doing under iLock. I've not done my stage A quiz. I've not even finished. It's not as if I'm stuck, but I actually want to get any state I am before I move forward. so that it won't be that I'm just doing copy and paste. Where we have df.sum and we have normal bracket, then the angle bracket for population supposed to give us the sum of the population, right? But when I run it on my Google Colab, it just combined all the figures of the population together. It didn't give me the sum. I also did df angle bracket population, then dot sum, then bracket. It still gave me the same answer. It didn't give me the total, and it's supposed to give me the total. I tried searching on Google to get it, but I didn't get it. And since then, I'm stuck on that because I want to know what I'm supposed to do to get it.
Okay, I think I saw your message on Slack. I replied, I gave you an answer to that on a solution to do. Okay, where you're having that error, like somebody said, that's a series. It's because you ran the first code you were talking about. I've seen this your question. So you ran the first code. So because you did that, it will affect, when you are working on Jupyter Notebook, it's like progressing from top to down.
I think we use
because you ran that first code. Okay, you use and they are both the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's because you ran that first code. That's why it's affecting it. It's like
okay. I should have done that one separately.
So yes, that code you ran is wrong. The first one. I answered you on Slack. So it is the second one. I told you to skip that line 62. I don't know if you remembered.
Yes, I
think
did.
You're the one that asked that question. So the first code you ran in series.
Go ahead.
That means you're probably from the beginning. You should check your code using the code snippets. Using the code snippets, check your code again from the beginning. You're probably missing it somewhere. Check your code from the beginning, from the top, then run it. Using the code snippets, that's the PDF, just download it and follow the procedures. We've already run through these things. Everything gave the answers. If you notice somebody else answer the question to you that it's in a series tab, the code you ran the first time will give you that because it's in a series. Okay. So just start again from the beginning. Check the code snippets in the PDF, then follow it line by line accordingly. Don't skip anyone or run a particular code before the other. It will affect the rest.
Okay, I'll do that.
So I answered it on Slack. You should have.
Maybe I must have
given me feedback. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So just do that. Okay, I replied like 3 or 4 days ago, I guess.
I saw the reply the following day because I think I sent it late in the night. I saw that reply of somebody said I should run it to like line 32 and skip that one. I did it again, they give me, but I've been on a personal issue since that 2 days ago. That's why I'm just responding to it now to join the meeting. That's one. So, secondly,
okay,
on when you use Jupyter and you are finished writing all the codes, you can run all the kernels to run all the codes together. You don't have to do one after the other. You can just run all of them. Now on Google Colab, how do I do that? Because I just noticed, because Google Colab is online, so that means I have to be clicking run one after the other. What if I have like million codes? How do I do that? I'm supposed to run it like I do it on Notebook. I'm a bit familiar with Jupyter Notebook. I want to get familiar with Google Colab. That was why I was using it. That's why I'm using it rather. So I want to know how I run kernels.
Okay. For Google Colab, you have 2 options though of running it individually, and also at the top there's an option. If you just look around, you see an option for you to restart the kernel, but restarting the kernel doesn't run the codes individually. That doesn't run the code on its own. You have to still run it individually.
Wow. So if I have like 1 million codes, I have to run it individually.
Yes.
Well, the only advantage Google Colab has is because maybe online or something. I mean, for Jupyter Notebook, you can run.
And also there's another way. Like I said, there are 2 ways. Once you restart the kernel, you see an option for run or runtime, restart your timer. Since you're familiar with the Google Colab, you can click on runtime, run or, it will run everything for you again.
Runtime, run or, oh yeah, so I won't have to click one after the other. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you're
Okay.
on a Jupyter notebook, you see like a forward key that just click on this thing, you start scanning and run up. It will just run
Yes,
it.
yes,
So that's
yes.
the
Put that
tools
one
for
on Jupyter. Now I'm just seeing
Yeah.
this one for Google Colab. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Any other questions, technical questions? If you're in a noisy place, you can drop a question on the chat. I'll read it out and we'll answer. This
Yeah,
section
hello.
is going to last. Okay. Emmanuel.
Earlier, you spoke about how to upload a file on GitHub, but
Yes.
it wasn't really clear to me. I was doing it, and I was finding it a little bit challenging because it wasn't really clear. Is it that you download the file as a notebook, or you copy the link and post it on the, or you drop it on GitHub? Which of them? Is it that you download the file as a notebook and drop it on there, or you copy the URL and drop it on there? Which one? I'm confused about it.
Okay, let me explain it again. Since, for example, you're working on your Jupyter notebook or a collab, since you're working on a Jupyter notebook, you know, when you are starting, you say create Python 3 notebook. If you are done working with that notebook, it's already saved in your system. If you are using a Jupyter notebook, it's already saved in your system. Go on to your profile on GitHub, your GitHub account. You see an option for creating a repository. Yeah. Once you've created that repository, enter that repository. That's the link to that repository. You see an option for upload documents. I'm talking about this first process of uploading documents. There's another way of using your Git to push your data to your documents or whatever to using Git. So if you are using the format of uploading, you see an option to upload documents. You can upload it. Once you click on upload, it will take you to all the documents in your file, in your system. Since your notebook is already saved in your system as an IPYNB file, once you get to that notebook, click on it, it will just upload automatically on its own. It's not as if you are copying the link of your Jupyter notebook to GitHub. Do you get me? It's like a document, it's like probably like a PDF or a Word document, but this time around it's an IPYNB file.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I
So
want.
once you've created okay. Then once you are done with that, then you copy the link of that repository that you've already uploaded your notebook on. You see it once you've uploaded it, you see it there, it's already on your repository. Copy the link. You know how to copy link to a particular page now at the top of your browser. Then once you copy that link, then you paste it in the assessment form.
Okay.
Then you submit with other details. That's it. And make sure it's a public repo you created, because there's an option for private, there's an option for public.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Do you understand clearly?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Technical or any blockers you're having with the course, you can just ask. Somebody just joined Gift. Do you have a question? You can drop your questions. And also, if you've not submitted your quiz now, I advise to do it before the deadline. Submit your quiz, not just taking the quiz, submit your assessment form. That's housing the assessment form. You have to submit your GitHub link housing your tag-along code, your correct student ID, because if you miss up the student ID, you have issues in sorting. We have issues sorting out for you. So that's like you've lost that score. That's good. Somebody asking a question?
Hello.
If
Good afternoon. Can you hear
Good
me?
afternoon, Mr. Daniel.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I wanted a clarification. If someone should pick, let's say, machine learning, for example, what level of competence do you need before you say you can go into machine learning without any issues, or without it proving to be a milestone or a very difficult task to accomplish?
Wait,
And
sorry,
someone
I didn't
just
get
go
your
for,
question. I didn't get
okay.
your question. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, what my question is, for one to can someone who is new to this whole data science, data analytics, or coding, just go directly into machine learning, or there's a level of expertise or competence you need to acquire before going to or picking machine learning as a track?
Okay. If I can answer your question, like you said, I'm guessing you started from the very beginning, the prerequisite courses and all, right?
Yes,
And
I
also
do.
this stage. Okay, you're saying, for example, you want to choose a track. Like the
Yeah.
4 tracks we have: data science, data storytelling, and data engineering, like
Engineer.
MLOps. As you
Yes.
started from this stage A, if you are choosing a data science track, which also deals with machine learning, building a model, predictive model, supervised
Okay.
or unsupervised. Since you started from the beginning and you've gotten to this stage A and you're done with this stage A, you already have the foundational knowledge
Okay.
of choosing that track of data science or data engineering like machine learning operations. So coming from the beginning of the stage to this stage A stage, you already have the foundational knowledge. It's not like a rocket science that's quite difficult. Like this stage A course is Introduction to Python for Machine Learning. It's just introducing to the different libraries used in machine learning and data science. I don't know if you get my point. So from these stages, you started from prerequisite courses and all that. In this space, you are well on track on choosing a particular track of data science / machine learning. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
If I get correctly, what you're saying, machine learning is a subset of data science.
Yeah, there is like an umbrella under it. Data science, we have the, yes,
All right. Thank you
artificial
very much.
intelligence, data science, machine learning, data analysis, data storytelling. So since you started from this process, you are well on track on being a good data scientist / machine learning engineer.
Okay.
So that's what I can advise you. But not just relaxing though. You can further do more research on whatever you're doing. Try to build more, see more of the libraries, read articles, even in this stage you are doing to the next stages, read whatever materials you are dropping and all that. Try to build more on your knowledge of data science if you are choosing a data science track. So you are well on track. You're set.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, there's a question in the chat. It's asking, Joy is asking a question, which assessment form? If you, we've been saying this since the beginning of this stage, there's an assessment form there. Once you are done with the quiz, in fact, before you even start the quiz, on the platform, you see further instructions for graded quiz. If you click on that test, you see the instructions there telling you about the data sets you'll be using to answer the quiz, some questions in the quiz. Then once you are done, your notebook, the link to your tag along code, there's a link there called assessment form or whatever name is there in the link. That is the assessment form you have to submit. So that's why I was saying I saw some people they're done with their quiz, but they didn't submit the assessment form. The assessment form is what will have different details in it, your Hamoye ID, your email, your link to your code and all that. So it's there in the instructions on the platform, which is stated further instructions for graded quiz. If you click on that text, you see a link there. Apart from that, it's also in your email. We've sent out emails. Check all the emails from Hamoye. The link is there. So I guess I've answered that question for you, Joy. Okay, there's another question saying, Hello, please, can you run a little explanation for me on Python with Google Colab? I'm really confused. Just brush through. Thanks for understanding. Python for Google Colab. Okay, Python for Google Colab, that's the prerequisite course. Google Colab is similar to Jupyter Notebook. It's just like an ID, what we call ID, Integrated Development Environment. So it's the same as your Jupyter Notebook, just that this Google Colab is online. You don't need to install anything. Just go to the website, Google Colab. Just type on Google, you see it. It will take you to the place. You just start running your codes, but you need to have an internet connection. So that's just the difference between the two of them. Jupyter Notebook, you have to install it. You are working offline. It's installed in your system, your desktop or your laptop, whatever. And while the Google Colab, you can run your codes and share your codes online. And there's other benefit to it. If your system doesn't have a fast processor or you don't have enough RAM, there's an option for a GPU processor on Google Colab. So there are some codes you write that if you are using your system, it will lag your system or hang or whatever. So once you run that on Google Colab, there are options for that. So that's the difference between Google Colab. It's the same thing with Jupyter Notebook, but it's hosted online. And there are some libraries that are pre-installed. Although if you are still working with some other libraries, you have to just install just using pip install. So that's the difference with Google Colab and Python. So I don't know if I've answered the question. Any potential practical session. If you are asking about live classes, I've answered before. There's and there's some webinars we do hold with our partners. Materials and the info, the course on the platform. And that's why we're hosting this Ask Me sessions to ask your technical questions. When we keep on building further, more technical questions, I'll get to share my screen and show you the codes to unblock the issues you're having. So that's that. We're having Ask Me sessions. Then you study the material and the courses on the platform. Wherever you're having issues, you can always ask your questions on Slack channel. We'll answer it for you. So that's that. I don't know if I've answered your question. Who asked that question? Udwak. I guess I've answered the question. If you're not in a noisy place, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I'll answer. Be it technical relating to the course. Even if I've answered it before, you need clarifications, you can ask. I'll answer. That's why we're here. So to make it more interactive, you can unmute yourself if you're not in a noisy place and ask your question. And please do the quiz, not just only submitting the quiz, fill the form. Without that, you won't have your complete score. Without that, you won't have your complete score, please. And also, we've already passed out the form for selection of tracks. In the previous Ask Me session, somebody was asking when you get to select a track. We've already passed it on. Check your emails and also on the Slack channel, the announcement channel. You see the link to that. Fill it and submit before 31st of July. There's a time there. So do all this for the deadline. And only the interns that selected this, that fill this form to select their tracks, will move on to the next stage. If you didn't select your track, you can't have your details to move on to the next stage. So you select the track, we'll put it to your different tracks. Also on the Slack channel, we're having different Slack channel for your different tracks and all that. So please do well to fill the form. If the info are already on your email and the Slack channel, so I shouldn't be saying this again. With that, it's only those that completed the form that fill the form. This is not the assessment form. This is move on to the next stage. So that's that. Any other question, technical or not? We have less than 15 minutes more on this session. I could add an extra 5 minutes though. So any blockers, any issues you're having in particular code, you can ask your questions. We're almost getting to the end of stage A. Or if you're in a noisy environment, you can drop it on the chat. I'll read it out, then I'll answer your question. Okay, you have a question. Unmute yourself, Lewis. You can unmute. You can unmute and ask your question, Lewis.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. You're welcome.
Okay, sorry, I joined in late, but I want to ask a question.
Okay.
I'm having an issue on. So can I ask?
Yeah, of course, you can ask a question.
Okay. My Notepad suddenly couldn't open. I think I have a power break and log out. So coming in again, the Notepad couldn't open. I couldn't bring it up again. It's giving me an error that I couldn't solve. I've tried every aspect I could, so I couldn't bring it up again. That is the Anaconda Navigator. It's telling me that there is an error in the startup. I've tried, put it off, rebooted the system over and over again. It's not going. That's one. Secondly, I'm having an issue with one of the practice questions. I don't know if I should ask.
You can ask it.
Okay. So one of the practice question on the data type and then data wrangling talks about the CSV CSV_df is equals to pd.read_csv sample file. I've tried running that code. I'm not getting anything It's not coming up. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If I could be helped, I would be grateful. So I'm able to get it right. Thank you.
Okay. To answer your first question on your Anaconda, what system are you working with, Mac or a Windows?
I'm working with Windows 10.
Okay. Did you confirm when you downloaded the package? Did you confirm the package you downloaded if it's for Windows? And also there's a package for 64 bits and 32 bits. So you should know. Okay.
I think the one I downloaded was 64 bits.
Okay, and your system, is it running on a 64 bits or a 32 bits?
64 bits.
Okay, if it's running on a 64 bits, probably during the installation, you had probably an error while installing it. That should be the only issue you're having. Okay, what our advice is that you can go back and reinstall it. That's uninstall what you have currently, just download a new package. If probably you downloaded the wrong package for your system, just check your system requirements and the requirements online for the Anaconda. Then once both of them are the same, if you click on, once you've downloaded it, click on install and follow the procedures when installing it. You won't have any issues about that to start up. That is for the first question.
Sorry,
then for your second question. Okay.
Okay. If I uninstall this particular one and reinstall again, will I lose any of my documents on the Notepad?
Okay, the documents you have. No,
yes.
Your document is already saved. Is already saved in your system. The only thing you lose is any of the libraries you've installed separately. I don't know if you understand me. It's just like once you created a notebook, that notebook is already saved like a file, probably a PDF file or Word document file, whatever. So if you uninstall, the only thing you lose are the installed libraries. Probably you installed, when you installed the Anaconda, you installed a separate library on it. That's the only thing you lose, your files and all that. But you won't lose your documents. It's already saved in your system. You can just look for it in your system. Since you are installing again, just copy wherever it is in your system and put it in that folder. You get it.
Okay, go ahead on the second question.
Okay, on the second question, if you notice in the text materials, I know what you're asking, saying about a sample.csv. In the material, there's data sets provided. I'm not talking about the quiz data set. In the practice material, there's a data set they call the name is called FOIL data set. That's what they named the sample CSV. They just renamed it as a sample. So if you went through the materials carefully, you will see that particular data set, they click on it and download, then run it like that to get your answer to that particular. You can rename it sample, and also make sure it's in the same folder, in the same directory as your notebook you created. If it's not there, you notice the error. The error might say module not found or document not found. So when you're running this, what error was it giving you about that? This is your second question.
Okay,
I remember the error.
Yes, let me try and remember. It was telling me that there is no such file or directory as sample file.
Exactly. It's because you didn't put it in the same directory as your notebook, and you didn't download the particular data set. That's that data set. If you go through the materials carefully, you see it there. Just download it, rename it as what you are seeing in the material, then you run. Do you get my point?
I get. Can I ask another question apart from those two?
Yes, continue. Ask your questions. Ask a question.
All right, so that I'm not be disturbing other people from asking theirs. Okay, my question is the code. Is this practice code and this practice question I'm doing on this thing? Are we to submit it also?
No, this practice. Okay, let me explain. Somebody asked this question before. This is just like in a university system, you have your materials. When you're studying your material, so those codes, they are practice code for you to be familiar with the concepts. Code snippets there. There's a PDF there. After the materials, there's what we wrote, code snippets, the PDF file. Download it. It's the same thing as the materials there. Just go through those codes, just for you to practice to know how to type the code, run the code, and see what you are seeing in the material. It's just for you to practice. It's not as if you are submitting that. It's for your practice, for you to understand the terms and the concept of that particular code. Then the one you have to submit is your quiz. Before you start the quiz, you see instructions. Then in the last lesson, there's another data set for your quiz. What you are submitting is your quiz and your tag along code. Those practice codes is just for you to be familiar with the codes, run it by yourself, not just reading the text. We provided it for you, so you can just copy and paste and run. Then sometimes if you want to master it, no need to copy and paste, just try and recall it, the terminologies, then you type in and get your answer. So it's not as if you are submitting that, it's just for you to practice. That's why it's called practice. You're not submitting that, you're only submitting the quiz and your tag along code you use in answering the quiz. Because in the quiz, there are some sessions where you have to answer questions with a particular data set. You see the instructions on the platform. So
okay, thank you.
I don't know if I'm saying that.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And also, if you are still having issues when we're done with this session, you can still ask your questions on the Slack channel. I'll reply you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Okay, there's another question on the chat from Samuel. If you still have a question, you can just raise your hand, signify by using the emoji. But let me read out this question. It said, I've answered before. It said, if you have less than 16 in the quiz, is there still hope to make it to the end? Of course, like we said, it's cumulative score. If you have less than 60, also try to submit your tag along codes. Then at the end of the internship, just try and improve more to make sure your cumulative grades is from 60% and above. You can still make it to the end. It's a cumulative score to get your certificates to become a HAMOE fellow. It's not just from one stage. And what we said, the deliverables, your quiz, the codes, that's your GitHub link has in your codes, attendance to important webinars. We'll tell you about these webinars. We'll always pass the information to you on Slack or through your email. So those are the deliverables for each stages and each tracks. We have the deliverables. So it's a cumulative grade. And also there's a premier project, we split into different groups. There's a capstone project, which is at the end of the internship. So with all these deliverables, the cumulative score you have should be 60% and above. That's when you have the certificate. It's not just from a particular stage. So it's a cumulative grade, not just for a particular stage. So if you have less than 60 in a particular stage, you can still improve more. Make sure you have 60% and above. You get your certificate. So I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Samuel. Okay, any other question? You can just unmute yourself. Okay, Chisom, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm having a problem right now. I don't know if I can talk about it here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to push my work to my GitHub repository. So I created a repository, then I'm using the Git. Okay, I used Visual Studio Code to push it. So I followed the steps. I did git init, I committed, I added the files with git add dots. Then I used the link that's git add remote origin, then pasted the link. And I'm trying to push, and it's telling me that it's saying updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. And I don't understand.
Okay. What you're pushing and committing, is it in the same directory? You are using Visual Studio Code, right?
Yes.
And you're pushing it locally. So that's why, since you're using Visual Studio Code, is your notebook in the same path as the directory of the, did you open it in your Visual Studio Code? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Like I opened the folder, I went to the folder first. I used the folder
okay.
button, yes. I had to go into the folder. So I was sure that the folder is showing that's where I am. That's what I'm trying to push. But then I've moved out of, I'm now back. I'm now using Git Bash because it wasn't working. I'm trying Git Bash, but I'm getting the same message. So I'm no more in Visual Studio Code. I'm in Git Bash right now. And I'm getting the same error message.
What is the error you're getting this time around?
It's saying, after I did the last git push -u origin main, it's saying rejected, then error, failed to push some refs to the link I copied from the repository I created. Then it's saying hint, updates are rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. But I'm sure that, like, I'm in the folder, I opened the folder before I opened the Git bash.
Okay, one thing with Git, you said Git push origin main. Check your repository if it's showing master on your GitHub profile.
No, it's showing main because I created.
Okay, it's showing main.
Yes.
It's showing main. Okay, there might be issues somewhere. Okay. Time is almost up for this session. Okay, if you still not resolved it after what I'm going to tell you, you can also ask on the Slack channel. We'll work it out for you. But for now, since there's no time, we're almost running to the end of this session. There's another option for you to upload directly on your GitHub account. But we'll resolve this issue for you. But there's no time now. We can resolve it. You can ask a question again on Slack. We'll just do it for you. You go back and check if you're having any issues or you missed a step or something. But there's another way I can tell you to upload your file on your GitHub repository. Once you open the repository, you see an option at the top saying upload documents. That's to add new file. Once you click on that, it will just take you to the files you have on your system. you just click on upload, select the file, click on upload, it will just upload it. So that one is different from pushing using Git. That's another option. If you can't do this for now, but we'll sort this out for you later. Probably there's a code you're not writing and you're having error somewhere, or when you configured your Git bash and all that, probably you missed a step or something.
No,
But
I've used it.
if you don't have time, yeah.
Okay.
You just did before using version controllers in producer course and it worked previously.
Yeah, it worked. Even with the Visual Studio Code, it worked.
It
I've
worked.
used
Okay,
it
probably
before.
you're missing a particular step. You can just go back and retrace your step. If you know one thing with using Git, if you miss a space, if you didn't add space or something, you still throw the same error. So go back, retrace your steps, you see where you're getting the error. If after that you're still having that error, there's another way of resolving it. You can copy that error you're having, paste it, go to Google and search on it. You will see ways on how to resolve it personally on your own. That's another way of getting answers. If you're having anything, you see the error, just copy that error message, type it on Google, you see solutions to it. So you have to retrace your step and see where you're making a particular error. I don't know if you understand me. So there's another option I told you for now that you can click on upload locally. Just click on that place, add new document, and it will upload on its own. So that one, you're using that if you're not uploading large data. So the advantage of Git Bash is if you are working on an app or something that lost and lots of file, you just have to use Git to push it. So copy the error message, type on Google, you see solutions to that for now. So those are the two options you can do.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. There's another question. I answered this question before we go already 2 minutes behind. Can we use VS Code instead of Jupyter Notebook? You can use Jupyter Notebook. In Visual Studio Code, there's an extension called Jupyter Notebook also. That's IPYNB5. If you are familiar with that, if you've installed that on your VS Code, I'm just trying to say this. If you are using Visual Studio Code, there's an extension called Jupyter Notebook extension. You can write Python codes on VS, Visual Studio editor. So, but for those that are not familiar with that, just use your Jupyter Notebook or your Collab. So whichever way you do it, so far you have an IPYNB file, that's your notebook file, then you upload it or push it to your repository, submit that link, make it public so we can access it. So whichever one you use, but make sure it's a notebook. You can use VS Code if you have the extension called Jupyter Notebook extension on your Visual Studio Code editor. So Fav, I don't know if I've answered your question. If you can go around that, it's fine. At the end of the day, so far you submitted an IPYNB file on your GitHub repository and make the repository public for us to access. Because I've seen some persons, they just submitted an empty repo or a repository we can't access. So you won't be graded for that. So I guess I've answered your question, Favor. All right, we've come to the end of this session. It was very, very, very interesting, the questions and all that. And I hope I've been able to unblock issues you're having. If I've not answered, you can also ask on your Slack channel, or you send us an email to any issues you're having. We're happy to help. Before I go, Levis, you have a question. I'll just take this last one for the next 2 minutes, then wrap up.
Thank you very much. Just simple question, please. How do I locate my thing on my system?
Your
file that I saved on my Notepad.
Okay, your Notepad. The name of the file. I'm sure you saved it using a name. And just go to your system, your file folder. That's the root folder of your system. There's a search button there for you to search on the name. It will just, once you do a random search, it will show you the details. So you know how to walk around your system. So far you saved it using a name. If you didn't save the name, there's no way you can search it. That's a quick way of getting it. If you didn't know the directory it was, just go to your file folders on your system. That's the root folder. Click on the search button there. Since you're using Windows, click on the search button, type the name, you'll see your file.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, thank you everyone for joining on this session. Like we all know, this Ask Me session holds every Mondays and Fridays. The next session we're having will be on Monday. That will be August 1st, if I'm correct. Yeah. So it was nice having you with me. My name is Christian, data scientist with Hamoye, and also the assistant program coordinator. I'm very happy we had a wonderful session. Thank you very much. Please, if you have not completed your quiz, do it to complete, submit the quiz, submit your codes and all that, and you'll be good to go. And fill the track selection form. It's ending July 31st. Do where to do that. All right. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely weekend. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.